further debate? The Minister of Labour.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak on a very important bill, Bill 14, that deals with non-profit housing cooperatives and making some very important changes. And I will say at the outset, Speaker, that's about time that we're debating this particular bill. I think we've heard from all three parties that how important this particular issue is. We've been hearing from our friends from the cooperative housing sector who have highlighted to all us members how important, as I was stating earlier, that this is the cooperative housing sector has done a very good job in highlighting some of the challenges that exist in the current system as it relates to dispute resolution mechanism within the co-op sector. Co-op housing sector, and these changes that are being put forward through Bill 14 will ensure that we have a far more workable dispute resolution mechanism by which co-ops will be able to apply to the landlord and tenant board as opposed to going to the courts to resolve certain kind of disputes within their mandate. As we know, Speaker, tribunals like the Landlord and Tenant Board, which are specialized tribunal, which have given very specific mandate and have the expertise in dealing with these type of issues, are far better suited to deal with these matters than the courts. Not to mention the fact that the Landlord and Tenant Board, or LTB, is far more specialized in nature. They have the expertise to look at these issues. The proceedings are far more cheaper than going to the court, and they are, from a timeline point of view, perhaps far more expedited as well. We know the challenges with the court. Courts are busy. They deal with all kinds of issues, and for co-ops to be able to the courts, not only there is that added expense of going to the court system, but then there's also the issue around the time as to how long it takes to resolve these disputes in terms of getting them heard and getting a decision from a judge. And there may be an issue around expertise, not to undermine judges. They're very knowledgeable, but of course, because they deal with so many different types of issues, they would not have very specific expertise like the Landlord and Tenant Board, which is a more specialized tribunal created under law through the Residential Tenancies Act. So this point that co-op housing sector has been advocating for some time, that we move most of co-op tenure disputes from the courts to the Landlord and Tenant Board, is a very reasonable thing to do, because I think it will result in a better system in place that will help resolve disputes much more faster in a manner that is cheaper and hopefully will result in decisions that are better decisions as well, both for the co-ops and those who live within co-ops. So I think this is the right move, and I'm really happy that this bill is tabled so early on in the session. So it gives us the opportunity to have that proper debate here, the committee, and of course third reading, so that we can pass this into law as quickly as possible. I think, Speaker, the timing for this bill is probably quite appropriate, as well as probably we all know that 2012 was the International Year of Co-ops, declared by the United Nations around the world. And I can tell you that at least in my community, in Ottawa Centre, in my city of Ottawa, we had some incredible celebrations that took place during that year of co-ops, and I think I learned far more about the co-op movement, what co-ops stand for, the manner in which they help people in all sectors, just not in housing, in all sectors. It was really incredible to have that year. It was really, I think it was really fitting to shine the light on cooperatives in our communities and highlight the good work they do day in and day out. And it's what really amazed me is how little general population, general public knows about co-ops. They're very much part and parcel of our lives. We see them all the time, from credit unions to obviously housing co-ops. But it's something that I find in my conversations in my community, people have very little appreciation of, in a sense, that they don't know much about them, and that's interesting, perhaps, given the history of co-ops and how long they've existed in our society, in our community. And I think last year, United Nations declaring 2012 as an International Year of Co-ops really helped, I think, move the yardstick in making people aware. At least, obviously I can speak for Ontario, in our province, in folks to know what co-ops are, what they do, what their mandate is, and how they are really helping to foster our society, a more just and fair society. Speaker, I think I've mentioned this in the House before. I belong to a co-op, a renewable energy co-op in my community. It's the first of its kind in Eastern Ontario, where cooperative has been created to promote more renewable energy, and they've got few projects on the go, and I'm very proud to be a member. And I just marvel at the way the decisions are made in that co-op, how everybody's views are taken into account, and how that co-op is really taking the necessary steps in promoting renewable energy. And obviously they are doing that through the Green Energy Act, through the both FIT and microfit program. Is amazing how many people are interested, how many people are contributing, people like myself who are not able to take advantage of the microfit program because the way my roof is designed or facing. But here's a co-op which is giving an opportunity for people to put smaller amounts of money and be able to take part in a larger movement in greening our environment and making sure that we're generating electricity in a far more in a renewable fashion. So it's just one very specific example of how cooperatives are making a difference in all different sectors in our communities, and in mine in particular is definitely a shining example of that. There's one particular, coming back to the co-op housing, I wanted to talk about the work that the cooperative housing in the Cooperative Housing Association of Eastern Ontario, CHASIO, does in my community, Speaker. It's a cooperation of co-ops, an extremely vibrant organization which does some really good work in my community across Eastern Ontario. CHASIO represents about 43 housing co-ops plus 5 associate co-ops, providing units for 4,345 households in Eastern Ontario, Speaker, and that translates into affordable housing for 12,100 people. That's a very significant number of people that they provide affordable housing to. There are 5 French-speaking and 7 bilingual co-ops in Eastern Ontario that are represented by CHASIO. There are 360 accessible units available in Eastern Ontario housing co-ops, making sure, of course, that people of all abilities have access to good affordable housing. And also, Speaker, I think very importantly, there are 5 seniors co-ops in Eastern Ontario that are represented through CHASIO. CHASIO is a marvelous organization. I've had a great opportunity to work with them on many issues. This particular issue, Bill 14, is one key issue that they have raised with me on numerous occasions. I, on a regular basis, attend their Spring Congress and AGM and their Fall Education Day, and have had the opportunity to speak at both those events on an annual basis. And the issue around a better dispute settlement mechanism, the one that is sort of encapsulated in Bill 14, comes up often, and I'm really happy to see that this bill is moving forward and has the support of all 3 parties, because I look forward to going back again in the meetings coming up and be able to deliver that good news to them, saying, look, your legislators listened to you, and they were able to, working together, they were able to deliver on something that is extremely important to them. And I think that really highlights our work, which is to help people. It really sort of translates into those who live in co-op housing, and will be able to assist them in a very meaningful way. I want to mention just the name of the board members who are part of CHASIO, because it's such an engaged organization in my community, does so much in promoting co-op housing and providing necessary services to co-op housing. A big thank you to the president, Angie Blay, the secretary, Helen Friel, staff liaison, Catherine Lee, vice president, Daniel Munugian, excuse me. Their interim director is Sharon Virtue, treasurer is Michelle Bainbridge, and director is Flo Bernier. And of course, the executive director is Karine Carrier, who works very, very hard. Celine Carrier, my apologies. The board of directors and the CHASIO staff extremely works very hard in making sure that they're providing services to all the housing co-ops. In my riding, in Ottawa Centre, a lone speaker, I have, I think very fortunate, I have 12 co-op housing. I've had the chance to visit every single one of them. There are great places for people to live. A lot of good works, a lot of good initiatives come out of all those housing co-ops. Most of them are concentrated in the downtown part of my community, but then if you really look at the map, you will see them on the south end of my riding, close to where I live, to the west and to the east end as well. And it's incredible, the diversity of these co-ops and the kind of different projects that they take on. So let me just go through the list, because I think it's instructive, and I'll speak to a few of them because I've had the chance to work with some of them. There's the Abbeywind Housing Cooperative, which is located right downtown, actually not that far from my community office, a very vibrant community. Alex Laidlaw Housing Cooperative, which is located on Booth Street. Cartier Square Housing Cooperative on Cooper. The Catalpa Housing Cooperative, which is on Queen Elizabeth Drive. Beautiful, it's right on the Rideau Canal. It's a series of row houses which are turned into a cooperative, and I was there last summer talking to some of the neighbors. Just absolutely gorgeous architecture, almost turn of the century, and the fact that they have this beautiful view of the Rideau Canal is, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, as we all know, is remarkable. Then there is the Co-operative d'Habitation des Jardins, which is on Empress Avenue, which is a French senior co-op located in my community. Fantastic group of people. I've done some work with them. They had some challenges actually, which could have been far better resolved if Bill 14 existed than resorting to court system. So I know they will be particularly very happy with Bill 14 now. I think things are far better and smoother at Desjardins Co-op, but you know, an example directly that I think they would have been far better served if we had on the book something like Bill 14 already passed. Dalhousie Housing Co-op, which is again on Somerset Street, that's located, there's in the community of Glebe. Many of you know where Glebe is located in my riding. We have the Glebe Housing Cooperative. Then there is the Shepherd Heritage Housing Cooperative on 300 Cooper. Just last summer, they celebrated their 100th anniversary. 100th anniversary of this beautiful architecture. This building is to be marveled at. And if you come to Ottawa, if you're in my riding, I will encourage you to please go to Cooper Street and just stand outside the Shepherd Heritage Housing Co-op and have a look at this building. It is absolutely a gorgeous architecture. And inside, the building is beautiful. And the story is incredible. It was in the 90s that the building was owned by a landlord. It was just falling apart. It was not being maintained. And a group of people got together and said, you know what, we want to take this building, we want to turn this into a co-op, and we want to fix this building and make it into a quality place to live. And they did so, and the provincial government at that time came to their aid in making that happen. And they have restored the building. outside and inside. I had the chance this summer when they were celebrating the 100th anniversary of the building to see some of the units, to see the beautiful staircase, the banisters, the artwork that's hanging in the hallways, and like I said, the architecture outside. It is probably one of my favorite buildings in my riding. And again, a heads off to the members of co-ops at Shefford for the work they do day in and day out in maintaining this building, and the incredible work they're doing in building a vibrant community. Again, just last summer we had a great celebration outdoors. It was kind of a rainy day, rainy, sunny. It was one of those weird days, but people were out. There was music and there was poetry. There was a bit of storytelling, bit of recalling the history. I think some of our friends were there who are visiting right now in the gallery for that opening. So that was fantastic. Then there's the Tompkins Housing Cooperative, which is located on Preston Street in Little Italy, another very vibrant part of my riding. The Carolyn Co-op, which is literally probably 10 doors down from where I live on Prince of Wales Drive. In my riding, another very nice community. And on the west end of my community, there's the Dovercourt Co-op and the Westboro Housing Cooperative. All this to say, Speaker, that I have the great privilege of representing a community where co-op housing is very important, and this issue that we're debating in Bill 14 is extremely important. In all of these in all these cooperatives. I've visited them all. I've had the chance to speak to people. I've been working closely with CHASIO, the Cooperative Housing Association of Eastern Ontario, and again and again and again, the issue that has come up, let's make the dispute resolution process a simpler one. The way it is structured right now makes it extremely difficult for co-ops to conduct their affairs. Courts are costly. The dispute resolution process that takes place in courts is far more lengthier in time, and decisions may not be that of a specialist body like the Landlord and Tenant Board. And I think the change that we're making, I can tell you, will see a very direct impact in my community, in all the 12 co-ops. Co-op housing that they are located in the riding of Ottawa Centre. In every single one of them, I know these changes are very much appreciated, because it is going to allow the members of the cooperative to be able to manage their affairs in a far more reasonable manner than what we have in place. So I'm very appreciative that this bill has come forward. I know it's been few times over that it's been here, but I feel fairly confident this time around that this will pass this legislature and will be law, hopefully as soon as we all can do. And I think most important message that we're sending out, that as the members of this legislature, as duly elected representatives, regardless of which part of the province we come from, regardless of what political ideology or value sets that we belong to, we are listening as a collective. We are paying attention to issues that are important to in our community. We are taking very direct steps that will help ensure that lives are being improved in places like co-op housing. So I think this bill may be quite simpler in many regards, or may not deal with the big heady policy issues that we all engage in debate at all times. I would argue, Speaker, is still as valid, as important for those whose lives is going to impact. And I think that is our job. As members of this legislature, is to listen to our communities, to be at that street level, be able to go door to door, talk to folks and see what those issues are, and be able to then translate that in work that is going to improve their lives. I have heard many times from folks who've talked about this issue, and I look forward for the passage of this legislation, so that I can go back to them and say, we listened, all three parties listened, we worked together, and we got it done in a cooperative fashion. So Speaker, I look forward to hearing the views of other members, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to assert my support for this bill, and of course talk about some of the great cooperative housing in my community and how it's going to impact their lives and improve. Thank you very much, Speaker.